The Galactic Compact was the oldest surviving agreement in known space. Older than most civilizations still breathing. Signed in an era when stars were young and empires believed themselves eternal. Its purpose was simple: to prevent extinction-level wars, to establish rules, and to define which species were protected under mutual defense. Every 1,000 cycles, the Compact Council gathered to review its clauses. A ritual more than a necessity, because no one had challenged the order in millennia, until the human question appeared on the agenda. Humans were new, dangerously new. A species that had crawled out of a single gravity well less than 3 centuries ago, and already scattered across dozens of systems. They had not been invited into the Compact, not because they were hostile, but because they were unpredictable. Ambassador Kell of the Therax Hive read the final line aloud, its chitin plates clicking with unease. In the event of total war, all signatories will be defeated, except the humans. The chamber went silent. This clause had existed since humanity's first faster-than-light jump, added quietly, without debate, not because humans had attacked anyone, but because every simulation ended the same way, if humans were included. The war escalated beyond containment, beyond probability, beyond survival. The Irradian archivists had warned them, showing ancient projections where humanity was cornered, sanctioned, or betrayed. In every version, humans adapted, improvised, and then rewrote the rules of conflict itself. Weapons became obsolete within weeks, strategies within days, entire doctrines within hours. The Council believed exclusion was mercy. If the galaxy ever burned, humanity would not be dragged into the fire. That belief lasted exactly 17 cycles, because on the edge of compact space, the Verix Dominion made its move. They did not declare war. Declarations were inefficient. They erased 3 protected worlds in silence. Star cores collapsed by weapons older than memory. Compact fleets mobilized, treaties activated, panic contained. Except the humans were not notified. Humanity learned the old-fashioned way, through refugees, half-dead ships limping into Terran space, carrying species that had once voted to exclude them. The first human response was not anger, it was curiosity. And that terrified the galaxy more than rage ever could. The Compact expected humanity to remain neutral. After all, they were not bound by treaty, not obligated to bleed for a system that had never trusted them. Instead, human observation vessels appeared along the warfront, unarmed, broadcasting open-censored data to anyone willing to listen. They did not ask permission, they did not offer aid. They simply watched. Admiral Renata Solis stood aboard the carrier Dawn unbroken, hands clasped behind her back as holographic battlefields unfolded around her. Alien fleets fought with rigid formations, honor lines, predictable engagement envelopes. They are still fighting wars, like they are afraid of breaking something, she murmured. Her staff did not respond. They already knew what she was thinking. Human analysts had torn apart the Compact doctrines in hours, finding flaws that no one else dared exploit. The Verix Dominion fought differently. Brutally efficient. No concern for collateral. No fear of escalation. They assumed no one would escalate further. That assumption was their first mistake. Across Terran space, something ancient and quiet began to wake. Shipyards long considered ceremonial lit up, manufacturing hulls without names, without registries, without diplomatic identifiers. Humanity did not mobilize officially. There were no speeches, no flags raised, no declarations transmitted. Instead, contracts vanished. Reserve fleets went dark, civilian traffic rerouted without explanation. The Compact noticed too late, when a Vorix strike group vanished near the border of unaligned space. There were no energy signatures, no debris, no survivors. Only a single transmission, looping endlessly on every frequency. Observation concluded. Panic rippled through the Council. They summoned human representatives, demanding explanations, invoking cliffs, pointing to exclusions. The human envoy listened patiently, a thin smile on her face. You said accept the humans, she replied calmly, so we are not violating anything. The logic was flawless and devastating. Humanity. It was not at war, they were conducting experiments. And the galaxy was the testing ground. Verix Dominion responded as conquerors always did, with overwhelming force, entire armadas redirected toward Terran borders. Confident that numbers alone would suffice, they underestimated one thing. Humans did not fight fleets, they fought systems. Supply chains collapsed before battles began. Communication relays failed at critical moments. Navigation beacons fed false data that bent entire formations into stellar hazards. Varex commanders accused each other of sabotage, unaware that human algorithms were learning in real time, adjusting tactics mid-conflict. Meanwhile, compact forces watched in disbelief. Human ships did not match known classifications. Their weapons defied sensor logic. Their maneuvers ignored inertia, as if physics were optional. "Impossible," whispered an Aurelian strategist. "No," replied another. "Inevitable." Human doctrine was simple. Never fight fair. Never fight the same way twice. Never give the enemy time to understand what killed them. Within weeks, the war map changed. Varex territory began to fold inward. Not conquered, but destabilized. Planets cut off. Economies shattered. Morale erased. The Compact attempted to intervene diplomatically, fearing what a full human victory might mean. They were ignored. Human command had reached a conclusion. The galaxy's rules were designed to preserve balance, not life. And balance, when protecting monsters, was just another form of violence. The phrase began appearing across human channels, shared quietly, almost reverently. If we are excluded, then we are unrestrained. The war was no longer about defense, it was about correction. The Varex Dominion fell without a final battle. Its core worlds surrendered in silence. Their leaders vanishing, their fleets scuttled by their own crews. When compact forces finally entered the ruins, they found something unsettling. Human relief ships, medical stations, reconstruction drones, food distribution networks already active. Humans were rebuilding worlds they had never sworn to protect. A compact delegate confronted Admiral Solus directly, demanding to know why humanity would save those who had once voted to exclude them. Solus did not hesitate. "Because we know what it feels like," she said, "to be considered too dangerous to matter." The Compact Council reconvened in emergency session. The old clause projected above them like a ghost. Except the humans, they realized then what the clause truly meant. It was not a shield against humanity. It was a warning. By excluding humans, they had removed every limit that treaties and traditions imposed. Humanity had fought without restriction, without expectation of reward, without fear of sanction. And they had won. The Council voted unanimously to amend the Compact, to extend full membership to humanity, to bind them with law and obligation. The human response arrived hours later, a single sentence, transmitted galaxy-wide. "Membership implies trust. We will observe." The implication was clear. Humanity did not. Neither Compact. The Compact needed humanity. Centuries later, historians would argue whether the exclusion saved the galaxy or doomed it to dependency. What could not be disputed was the shift that followed. Wars became shorter, atrocities became rarer, because somewhere beyond the borders, humanity watched. They did not patrol. They did not rule. They existed as the exception, the unbound variable in every calculation. Children across the stars learned the phrase in school, spoken with equal parts fear and relief. The rules apply to everyone, except the humans, and in that exception, the galaxy found its uneasy peace.